Well, first of all, I'd say Dr. Knežević, considering what he's been through, is in fighting spirits. He has not given up hope. The most important thing first is that he gets his liberty, that he be given bail whilst these charges are looked into. He should be given bail. He was given bail in the United Kingdom before he was extradited, and he complied with all the conditions of bail. He has no criminal record, Dr. Knežević, that's the second point. The prosecution against him has been found to be politically motivated by the Interpol Review Committee. That's the third point I'd make. The fourth point is he wanted to come back to Montenegro to face these charges, but his security, his safety could not be guaranteed. That was the problem. And you'll be aware the Minister of Justice himself said that he couldn't guarantee his safety in a public statement. Now, the final point I'd make is, if it's said, well, he's got to remain in detention for his own safety, that cannot be right. Firstly, he has his right to liberty, and if he gets his liberty, then it is for the state to devise a means to protect him from criminal elements who may be displeased about the revelations he has made. But it's the duty of the state not to deny him his liberty to protect him, but to give him his liberty and then to make sure that the security measures are in place to protect him. And I'll just say three other reasons why he should be out, why he should be able to have his liberty now. Firstly, he needs to continue to run the university and his business, the Atlas Group. There's many employees who depend on him, and he doesn't want to let them down. He wants to continue to work. The second point I'd make is he needs to be with his family. At present, whilst he's in custody, he hasn't been able to even make phone calls to his family, though his son was graduating in America, I think only yesterday. And finally, there's the arbitration proceedings that he's involved in against the Montenegrin government, and he needs to be out in order to handle those proceedings. So there are many reasons why he should gain his liberty, why he should be on bail, and that's the most important thing, that he has his liberty back. There are other things, in the meantime, conditions of detention that need to be improved. Dr. Knežević has a case pending in the European Court on the grounds that he should not have been extradited at a time that his security could not be guaranteed, and that it was wrong of the British courts to extradite him. That case is ongoing, but there will be other cases. If he continues to be denied bail, he would have a right to go to the European Court for a breach of Article 5, Sub-Article 3 of the European Convention. He also has other remedies available to him to go to the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention and go to the UN Human Rights Committee, both of which have jurisdiction in respect of Montenegro. So there's those remedies which he will be pursuing in any event. Yes, well, we met with the Minister of Justice and also actually with the Director of Prisons. We were grateful to them for meeting with us and for explaining their point of view. But should I just say this, that to the extent that the Minister has said publicly that there is a problem about guaranteeing his safety, that cannot be a reason for continuing to detain him. He must be given his liberty, and then the state must take steps to protect him. But the Minister helpfully has intervened. He didn't even have a watch or a clock in his room. He's been kept virtually in isolation from other prisoners, not being able to talk to them. And the Minister has made provision that he will have a clock, that he will have a watch. The Minister has guaranteed that he will be allowed telephone calls, to make telephone calls out to his family. And that's obviously a first step in the right direction, and we're grateful for that. But it leaves the fact that he's still in virtual isolation in custody, and he has a right to associate with others whilst he's there. and it leaves massively the fact that he's still in detention, and we hope that the judge will grant him his conditional liberty, to which he has a right under the European Convention in circumstances such as this. That's absolutely right, that one of the concerns that the authorities appear to have is that they wouldn't be able to protect him if he was at liberty. That is not a proper reason for denying someone their freedom. First you deal with the question, are they entitled to their liberty? Will they comply with bail conditions? Then you put in place the necessary safeguards to protect someone. And that has to be the right way around. In the UK, the British police warned him that there was a risk, but took steps to protect him. And that has to be the right approach to take. And I'd also say it's not as if being in prison doesn't carry with it risks from criminal elements, if there are criminal elements who want to attack him or dispose of him, they could have access to him even in prison. So we say, first of all, give him his liberty and then take steps to protect him. Yes. Well, it's very difficult for him to deal with his international cases. He's got the arbitration proceedings, he's got the cases against the UK for extraditing him, he's got the cases for the denial of his bail and denial of communications here. He needs to be able to speak to his international lawyers freely in order to develop those points. But also, in order to fight these charges against him, he needs to have free access to his lawyers, he needs to be able to talk to them openly. It's much, much more difficult for someone to defend themselves if they're denied their liberty. And there is really no justification in the case of someone with no previous convictions, with a case that Interpol itself has found to be politically motivated, who has complied with all the bail conditions imposed by the British courts whilst he was there. There is no justification for denying him his conditional freedom whilst he awaits trial. Well, I think it's very important. The Minister of Justice openly and honestly admitted that he couldn't guarantee his safety. If that had been clearly stated by the state, by the Minister of Justice and those seeking his extradition to the English court, if they had said openly that that is the position, he would not have been extradited. But because it was simply something that was published in the television, the English court said, well, we don't have this confirmation from the Minister of Justice himself. But the Minister of Justice has made that statement, and he's never resiled from it, that he would not be safe if extradited to Montenegro. We commend his honesty. The only problem is that the English court didn't realise how serious the situation was. The important thing, the first and most important thing, is that Dr. Knežević gets his freedom, his conditional liberty, on bail if necessary, subject to house arrest if necessary, but he needs to be out of prison. Secondly, whilst he's in prison, he needs to be able to associate, he needs to be able to telephone out to his family and to his lawyers, and he needs obviously the basic amenities of life, including a means to tell the time while he's in prison. I mean, not to have a watch or a clock is a pretty major deprivation if you're being held in virtual isolation in prison. So I hope all these things will be addressed today, those problems, and the Minister of Justice has certainly said that he will intervene to put those things right.